They told you living alone after 60 means being lonely, that empty rooms echo sadness, that silence is a sign of loss. But they lied. Because somewhere between all the noise, the visits that grew fewer, and the long mornings where you wake up to your own rhythm, there's something they never told you. Peace feels different when it's yours alone. What if those quiet moments aren't empty, but full of the life you finally have time to live? Full of choices you don't have to explain, meals you cook just for yourself, music you play as loud or soft as you like. You've spent decades caring for others, holding families together, keeping routines that weren't always yours. But what if this is the first time life is finally giving you back to yourself? Because living alone doesn't mean you're unloved, it can mean you're finally free to love your days in your own way. And as more seniors across the US are discovering, solitude doesn't have to be sad. It can be the start of something deeply peaceful, a slower morning, a voice message from a grandchild, or a walk without rushing anywhere. So before you let fear define this chapter, pause for a second and ask yourself, what if peace, purpose, and freedom were waiting for you on the other side of those fears? And if you've ever been told living alone isn't for you, or that it means the story's over, hit that like button. Because this one might just change the way you see yourself. Meet Marjorie Hale, 67 years old, a retired librarian from a small town in Ohio. For most of her life, her world was filled with people. Students asking for help, co-workers sharing coffee, her husband humming softly in the kitchen. But 8 years ago, when she lost him, the noise faded. And for the first time, silence became something she didn't know how to live with. In the beginning, she tried to drown it out. The television stayed on all night, her phone sat beside her like a lifeline. She'd walk past her neighbors' homes and wonder if anyone would notice if she disappeared for a day or two. The loneliness wasn't just in the quiet, it was in the belief that her story had ended. But then something shifted. One morning, she turned off the TV. She let the quiet settle, really settle, for the first time. And instead of fear, she felt something new, peace. Marjorie started small, rearranging her living room, taking short morning walks, even joining a local memoir writing group. With every small step, her home stopped feeling empty. It started feeling hers. Now, she calls her solitude the quiet that healed me. It's not that the grief vanished, it's that she learned to breathe beside it. Marjorie's days are slower, softer, more intentional. She writes letters to old friends, tends to her plants, and still reads every evening, not to escape, but to connect. Marjorie believed the same myths many do, until she tested them, one by one. Her story isn't about loneliness. It's about rediscovering strength in stillness, and realizing that living alone can mean living fully, freely, and finally, on your own terms. Myth number 1. Living alone means being lonely. They say living alone after 60 is just another word for being lonely. But if you talk to people like Marjorie Hale, or the millions of older adults quietly thriving across the country, you'll find that loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. One drains you, the other restores you. For years, Marjorie believed the myth. She thought happiness depended on having someone in the next room. But over time, she discovered that connection isn't about proximity, it's about presence. You can be surrounded by people and still feel unseen, or you can live alone and feel deeply connected to life. And she's not alone in that realization. A recent 2025 National Wellness Study found that older adults who live independently but stay socially active report higher happiness and life satisfaction than those living with others in high-stress or emotionally cold environments. In other words, peace often comes from control over your own space and schedule, not from constant company. Across the US, seniors are rewriting what connected looks like. Every week, thousands join virtual book clubs where stories turn into friendships. AARP's Connect 2 effect is helping older adults build new social circles, not by chance, but by intention. Many churches now hold Zoom socials for those who can't attend in person. Some neighborhoods even have porch meetups, where residents wave, talk, and check in from a few feet away. And for seniors who grew up before smartphones, the shift has been surprisingly uplifting. Marjorie laughs about it now. She's part of a small online gardening group that meets every Wednesday. She says, "We may be miles apart, but it feels like we're right next to each other, swapping stories over coffee." The truth is, connection today has changed. It's lighter, easier, and more on your own terms. Loneliness isn't a given, it's a signal, one that reminds you to reach outward, even from your own living room. So if you're watching this and thinking, "But I'm alone most of the time," remember, alone doesn't mean isolated. You can build a rhythm that feeds your heart instead of depleting it. Start your mornings by calling someone you love. Join an online hobby group or faith discussion. Take a daily walk and greet the same faces. It turns strangers into neighbors. Because connection isn't about how many people are near you. It's about how open you are to moments of togetherness, big or small. Do you still believe solitude equals loneliness? Tell us below, what helps you feel connected these days? And keep watching, because the next myth might be the one holding back your peace more than any other. Myth number 2. It's too risky to live alone. For many seniors, this is the fear that echoes the loudest. What if something happens and no one's there? It's a worry that's both real and valid. For years, it was the reason Marjorie Hale hesitated to fully embrace her independence. After her husband passed, every creak in the house made her pause. The fear wasn't just about falling, it was about falling unnoticed. But the world has changed faster than most people realize. What used to be risky now comes with more layers of protection than ever before. Marjorie's turning point came one morning after she slipped on a rug while watering her plants. She wasn't hurt, but the moment lingered in her mind. That night, instead of letting fear grow, she decided to adapt. She installed a smart home safety system, one that included voice-activated lights, fall detection sensors, and an Alexa Together subscription that automatically alerts her daughter if she ever needs help. She paired it with her Apple Watch SOS feature, a simple button press that can summon emergency services instantly. It gave her something she hadn't felt in years: confidence. Now, she jokes, "My house listens better than most people." And she's not exaggerating. Today's technology has turned solo living into something both safer and smarter. AI-powered medical alert systems can now sense unusual movement or inactivity and send help automatically. Smart doorbells with two-way audio let you talk to visitors without opening the door. Digital medication dispensers remind you to take pills on time and notify a family member if you forget. These tools aren't about replacing human connection, they're about extending it. They bridge the gap between independence and safety, letting seniors live freely without fear. And beyond tech, communities are adapting too. Local volunteer programs in cities like Denver, Tampa, and Portland now offer neighbor check-ins, quick, friendly visits that ensure solo seniors are safe and cared for. Even pharmacies are joining in, offering automatic refill reminders and delivery tracking, reducing unnecessary stress. So yes, living alone once carried risks. But now, technology has transformed those risks into reassurance. Every alert, every connected device, every small safeguard says one powerful thing: you're not as alone as you think. Today, technology doesn't replace safety, it multiplies it. Marjorie often says she sleeps better now, not because the fear vanished, but because she replaced it with preparation. Her independence isn't fragile anymore. It's supported, intentional, and strong. And while technology can protect the body, there's another kind of safety we all need, the one that protects the heart. But the next myth is the one that traps the strongest people emotionally. Myth number 3. Living alone means you're forgotten. This is the myth that cuts the deepest, the quiet fear that one day, the world will move on without you. For Marjorie Hale, it started with the little things: fewer calls from old friends, a mailbox that stayed empty most weeks, and the creeping thought that maybe her story didn't matter anymore. She once said, "I didn't mind the quiet. I minded feeling invisible inside it." But the truth is, being alone doesn't mean you've been erased. Sometimes, it's the space that lets you be seen again, in new, meaningful ways. One afternoon, while reading the local bulletin board at her library, Marjorie came across a small flyer: Grand Friends Program, seeking seniors to spend time with local families. She hesitated, unsure if she belonged there, but something nudged her to call. That single call changed her weeks, and her heart. Every Thursday afternoon now, a young couple and their 2 children visit her home. They read stories together, bake cookies, and trade stories about the old days. The children call her Grandma Marge. What began as a volunteer match turned into a family bond that neither side expected. This isn't just Marjorie's story, it's part of a much bigger wave happening across the country. Intergenerational connection programs have become one of the most powerful social trends of 2025. From community centers in Oregon to churches in Texas, older adults are finding renewed purpose through relationships with younger generations. They share wisdom, laughter, and stories that remind everyone, age isn't a barrier to belonging. Sociologists now report that seniors involved in cross-generational activities show a 40% decrease in feelings of isolation compared to those who only interact with peers. And the impact runs both ways. Younger families say these relationships give their children emotional grounding and respect for aging. For Marjorie, being part of Grand Friends didn't just fill her days, it restored her sense of mattering. She often says, "I thought I was giving my time away, but it turns out I was giving my life color again." And the beauty of it. You don't have to join a program to feel remembered. You can volunteer at a local school, record your memories for your grandkids, or simply start conversations at your favorite cafe. When you share your story, people listen, and when you show up, the world shows up for you. Because the truth is powerful. Being alone doesn't mean being unseen. Sometimes it's how the world starts noticing you again. So, let me ask you, have you ever felt invisible since living alone? Share your story, you might inspire someone watching. And stay with me, because the next myth touches something even more personal, the belief that thriving alone isn't possible at all. 6. Myth number 4, you can't thrive alone. For decades, society painted a quiet picture of aging, one where slowing down meant stepping back. But the truth. Many seniors today are proving that life after 60 isn't a slow fade, it's a second act. Living alone doesn't have to mean settling down, it can mean starting over with more freedom, clarity, and self-trust than ever before. Marjorie Hale used to think thriving meant being busy. She kept her days packed, endless calls, background noise, distractions. "I thought if I stayed occupied, I wouldn't feel empty," she admits. "But when I stopped filling my silence with fear, I started hearing myself again." That's when everything shifted. Marjorie began to write again, short reflections about her daily life. What started as a private journal slowly became a small blog she shared with other retirees. Within months, hundreds of readers resonated with her words. She wasn't just surviving her solitude, she was thriving through it. And she's far from alone. Across the US, more seniors than ever are rediscovering identity, purpose, and creativity, not in spite of solitude, but because of it. Eleanor Brooks, 72, turned her backyard hobby into an online herb garden shop that now ships nationwide. James Porter, 68, bought a used camper van and travels solo across state parks, documenting his adventures for a growing community of other late-life explorers. Delia Tran, 66, began painting after decades of caregiving and now exhibits her art at local fairs. These aren't outliers, they're part of a growing generation redefining what aging alone looks like in 2025. So how do they do it? It's not luck, it's intentional living. Here are a few lessons Marjorie swears by. 1. Start your mornings with purpose. Whether it's brewing tea while the sun rises or saying a short prayer of gratitude, the first 10 minutes of your day shape the next 10 hours. 2. Redesign your space for light and comfort. Rearrange furniture, open windows, or add plants. Create an environment that energizes you instead of reminding you of absence. 3. Nurture one passion daily. It doesn't have to be big. It could be journaling, sketching, baking, or learning something new online. Growth at any age feeds joy. Because thriving isn't about being busy, it's about being present. The beauty of living alone is that your time is fully yours again. You can build routines that reflect who you are now, not who you used to be for others. Marjorie often ends her reflections with a quiet truth. When I stopped filling my silence with fear, I started hearing myself again. Her words remind us that solitude can be a mirror, one that reflects strength, peace, and purpose when you stop running from it. But even for those who've found balance and calm, there's one belief that still keeps many awake at night: the one that whispers it's too late to start again. But the last myth. It's the one keeping thousands from peace tonight. Myth number 5, it's too late to start over. If there's one belief that quietly haunts so many people over 60, it's this one: I missed my chance. It's the myth that whispers you've already lived your best chapters, that everything meaningful was tied to your past roles, as a spouse, a parent, a worker. But here's the truth that's rewriting lives across America. It's never too late to begin again. In fact, for many, this is the first time life finally feels like their own. Take Marjorie Hale. 3 years ago, her Sundays were quiet, a cup of coffee, a few pages of her book, maybe a walk through her garden. Now, her home is alive again. Every Sunday afternoon, she hosts a small brunch for friends she met through a local solo seniors circle, a support and social group for people living independently after 60. Her kitchen fills with laughter, shared recipes, and the kind of warmth that feels like family. Not the one you were born into, but the one you choose. Marjorie says, "It's funny, I thought I'd lost everything that made life rich. Turns out, I just hadn't made room for what was next." She's not alone. According to new 2025 studies, 3 in 10 seniors over 60 in the US are starting new lives solo, moving cities, learning new skills, even dating again. The most remarkable part: they're reporting higher happiness and confidence than they felt a decade ago. From Florida to Oregon, late life reinvention is becoming a quiet movement. There's Harold, 74, who just started a woodworking YouTube channel from his garage. Or Evelyn, 69, who took her first painting class last year and now sells her work online. Even senior dating platforms are seeing record engagement, because companionship doesn't expire, it evolves. Starting over at this stage isn't about chasing youth, it's about claiming peace. It's realizing that your days are still yours to shape, your passions still valid, your dreams still waiting. Whether that means rearranging your home, taking that trip you postponed for years, or simply deciding to smile more, it's all part of writing your next chapter, one that doesn't apologize for coming late. The most powerful stories aren't the ones that never changed, they're the ones that did. So, if you've been holding back because you think it's too late, it's not. It's not too late. It's right on time. And maybe tonight, as you sip your tea or scroll through photos, you'll remember, you're still becoming. Every sunrise, every small step, every new hello proves it. Because sometimes, starting over isn't a restart, it's finally beginning for yourself. The morning light spills softly across Marjorie Hale's kitchen table, the same table that once felt too big, too quiet, too empty. Now it holds a cup of chamomile tea, a candle, and her worn leather journal. Her handwriting is slower these days, but deliberate. On a fresh page, she writes, "Peace wasn't in people staying. It was in me learning to stay with myself." That's her truth now, simple, steady, and hard-earned. The silence she once feared has become her sanctuary. The walls that once echoed loneliness now hum with music, laughter, and calm. Marjorie didn't find peace by filling her space with others. She found it by filling it with purpose. And maybe that's the quiet lesson for anyone watching. Living alone doesn't mean losing life, it can mean reclaiming it. It's not the end of companionship, but the beginning of self-connection. It's the moment you stop waiting for someone else to complete your story and start writing the chapters that feel like you. Every meal you cook, every walk you take, every small ritual that grounds you, they're not just habits. They're evidence that you're still growing, still choosing, still here. Because solitude, when embraced with courage, isn't empty, it's full of you. And sometimes, the most beautiful transformation doesn't come from being found. It comes from finally finding yourself. If this story gave you even a moment of peace, a breath of relief, or a spark of hope, take that as a sign that you're exactly where you need to be. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're simply in a new chapter, and this one belongs entirely to you. So, if Marjorie's journey reminded you that peace can be rebuilt, one quiet morning, one brave choice at a time, go ahead and hit that like button. It tells us these stories matter, that calm still has a place in this noisy world. Share this video with a friend or loved one who's also learning to live alone, someone who might need a gentle reminder that independence isn't isolation, it's healing in motion. And if you're new here, Subscribe to Elderly Dose, because this space was made for you. Every week, we share stories that breathe comfort, courage, and purpose into the journey after 60. It's not about surviving alone. It's about thriving quietly, beautifully, and freely. Your next dose of calm wisdom is just a click away.